Hello everyone, this is Raiden, and I'm here with a very quick news video. So a little bit ago there was an article on TweakTown, which is God, I hate that site, but we'll work with it for now. Anyways, TweakTown has an article that states that 50% of Capcom's sales recently have come from PC. At first I found it very interesting and just kind of wrote it off. But later on I realized that this probably wasn't an accident, and I actually have a few thoughts on this article. Said thoughts I will be sharing with you in this video. So let's start with the official quote from a Capcom corporate representative. Quote, "The ratio of units sold on the PC during the first quarter was approximately 50%. For the full year, we expect this to slightly decrease due to the release of a major new title in the fourth quarter." This comes from some documents on Capcom's investor relations website. These quarterly earnings documents are public, so you can check them out if you want, but I'll warn you, they are a little boring. Another interesting metric is that 85% of the sales volume was catalog titles, and catalog titles, those are games that have already come out. That makes sense given that Capcom didn't really release or publish any new games. Like, sure, there was the Fighting Collection, but that targets a very niche audience, and also it's just a little collection. It's not a major release. Actually, wait a second. How the hell did I forget Rise? Yeah, there was Sunbreak too. If you're wondering why PC, of all things, is leading the charge here, being 50% of all the sales volume, I have a few theories. I think the biggest one is just the game engine that Capcom has lately started adopting for every game, and that would be the RE engine. Think about it. It looks great, but it's also really well optimized. People have been able to run Village on integrated graphics, for example. So not only is it very accessible on consoles, but on PC as well. What the consoles don't get, though, is the phenomenal modding support. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple VR enthusiasts purchased Steam copies of the Resident Evil games just because of the Prey Dog VR mod, which is a really cool mod, by the way. There's also lots of Monster Hunter modding as well. Another potential reason is that the Western market just happens to be interested in PCs right now. PC lately in the last couple years has been seeing more and more adoption, but that has been greatly accelerated ever since the pandemic started 2 years ago. Now we have a lot more people who have gaming PCs, and as a result probably might not have bought a console and instead just started buying all their games on Steam. I think another potential reason is just the fact that people are starting to notice that the bigger content creators in this space happen to game on PC. Now, they may not make PC-focused content, they're not doing what I do and make a 1-hour vlog of installing a GPU, but it's not really a secret that you see an NZXT logo in Maximilian's stream overlay, or that Spear Hunter, she happened to have a PC built for her, so I'm sure that has some level of impact. Probably not a big one, but I'm sure it swayed some people. I think another part of it might just be people who play Capcom games on PC just waiting for Capcom to remove DRM. That's been a thing I've noticed. I can't blame them because Denuvo is awful, but yeah, that's a cool thing Capcom does every now and then. They like to remove Denuvo from their games after a certain period of time. So I wouldn't be surprised if people held off on Village until they fixed the issue with the DRM that game was having. Those are potential reasons, however. I don't quite know for sure, though I am confident in a few of my guesses. This news also comes with a lot of pretty interesting things to think about. So 50% of the sales being from PC, that market share also has to be split with consoles, and if you split it down even further, that would mean that there's a certain amount of market share for PlayStation, a certain amount for Xbox, a certain amount for Switch. So that would mean mathematically, assuming I'm doing the math right, PlayStation has less market share than PC, and so does Xbox, and so does the Switch. I mean, the Switch shouldn't be a surprise. There's only Rise on there, but so it's interesting to think of all the units that Capcom has sold in this quarter. Most of it was on PC, and then another part of it is that most of it is catalog games. Like I said, not a lot new came out, but there was Sunbreak. I think another reason so many of the units were catalog games is because Capcom was having so many sales in this quarter. It's so hilarious. I kept logging into Steam and like pretty much almost the entire quarter there was like a Steam sale going on, so that was actually pretty nice. I wouldn't be surprised if that had some influence on so many PC sales as well. If we broaden our focus away from PC for just a second, I would like to bring attention to a few games that have actually been selling pretty well lately. So it seems that Sunbreak has sold 2.5 million units, and that's pretty impressive for an expansion, given that, let's see, how many people have already bought the base game? So 2.5 out of 10 million people, pretty much, have purchased the expansion, which is a decent chunk. One thing I noticed is that Resident Evil 7 and 2 and 3 sold 200,000 units, apparently. I wouldn't be surprised if this is due to the, re-releases on the next-gen consoles, but it seems like it's very odd that all of them sold the exact same amount, so that's... I don't know, I thought that was interesting. Are people buying them in a bundle? I'm curious. Was there some bundle I missed out on? Am I missing something here? DMC5 just recently hit 5 million units, and it seems like it's still going. That game is still selling, which is pretty cool. I made a video about DMC, and when I was making it, I was like, oh, no one's gonna care. Nobody's playing character action games anymore. Everybody's sick of DMC and MGR. They stopped being funny. And then I see this, and it's like, okay, come on. People are still buying it. While we're here, we might as well look at the Platinum titles. That would be the highest selling games Capcom has made so far. And number one is still Monster Hunter World, and it will probably remain Monster Hunter World to the end of time. Monster Hunter World is still at 18 million. Not really a surprise. Number 2 is Resident Evil 7, which was, let me tell you, when that first jumped up to number 2, it was a huge surprise. I wasn't expecting that game to all of a sudden start selling amazingly, but it did, and it hit like 10 million sales, and now it's at 11 million, so apparently a million more people bought it. If you're hoping Resident Evil 9 won't be in first person, this might be bad news for you. Just below Resident Evil 7 is Monster Hunter Rise, which wasn't there before, so that's actually really cool. It's number 3. Rise is selling pretty amazingly. 10 million sales. It's totally possible that the momentum for Rise could just continue going and eventually surpass Resident Evil 7, and then the top 2 selling games that Capcom makes would be Monster Hunter. Wouldn't that be funny? For the most part, a lot of the other Platinum titles have roughly stayed the same. They've just gained more sales, which makes sense because they're the best-selling games, so of course they're going to keep selling. Something I totally forgot to mention when I was talking about PC is I know there was a certain subsection of people who were hoping Capcom would get bought out by Sony, and then Capcom would become sort of like a second-party developer for PlayStation. This PC news might throw a wrench in those plans. I personally wasn't hoping for it. If anything, I don't want that to happen, but I know some people were, and this might be disappointing. This might be disappointing news if you were hoping for that. But yeah, overall seems like a good quarter. I might be a bit of a dum-dum right now, but I can't quite remember what's launching in quarter 4, because I believe Resident Evil 4, that's 2023. Street Fighter 6, maybe? I don't know. That's got to launch in 2023. I can't see it launching this year, but watch me be wrong. And then, what was the other game? Exoprimal, that's also 2023, I believe. So, like, are they talking about the Village DLC? Maybe? Would Gold Edition of Resident Evil Village count as a major release? I'm not entirely sure. It sounds like a Sunbreak sort of situation where it's more of an expansion and less of like a quote-unquote major release. There has to be something I'm forgetting. I do know that October is at the very beginning of quarter 4, so technically it could be the quarter 4 major release. I'm not sure why they'd call it a major release though. That's my question. Dude, I swear I'm forgetting something. But yeah, that'll just about wrap everything up. Let me know about all your thoughts in the comments below. And consider sticking around, maybe subscribe. Check out some of my other videos as well. Have yourself a good one.